Once upon a time, in the bustling town of Ikorodu, nestled on the outskirts of Lagos, there lived a girl named Kemi. She was a virgin. She was beautiful, intelligent, and ambitious. Though born into a modest family, her determination to rise above her circumstances was unshakable. Her father was a farmer, and her mother sold plantains in the local market. They had little, but they cherished Kemi's brilliance. When Kemi passed the scholarship examination for Prestige International College, a reputable secondary school in the city, it felt like God Himself had opened the doors of blessing for their family. Her mother sold some of her cherished wrappers to buy Kemi a second-hand uniform and school supplies. "Kemi, this is your chance," her father said, gripping her hands. "Make us proud." "I promise, Papa," Kemi replied with determination. Life at Prestige International College was unlike anything she had known. The school was a sprawling complex with state-of-the-art laboratories, a library filled with more books than she could count, and students who arrived in sleek, expensive cars. At first, Kemi felt out of place among her wealthy classmates, but her academic excellence quickly earned her respect. Her closest friend Ada was her biggest cheerleader. Ada, the daughter of a wealthy Igbo businessman, was humble and kind. The two were inseparable. They studied together, laughed together, and dreamed about the future. "I want to become an engineer," Kemi once told Ada, "to build structures that will outlast our lifetimes." Everything seemed perfect until the arrival of Mr. Dan, the new mathematics teacher. Mr. Dan was young, tall, handsome, and charismatic. The female students whispered about his striking looks, his charming smile, and giggled behind their books when he passed. But Kemi wasn't interested. She was focused on her studies. However, it wasn't long before Mr. Dan noticed her. "Kemi, can you solve this question on the board?" he asked one afternoon. She stood up and solved the problem effortlessly. "Brilliant as always," he said, his gaze lingering a moment too long. At first, she thought nothing of it. She was used to being praised for her intelligence. But soon, the compliments shifted. He began to comment on her beauty, invited her for after-class tutoring, and occasionally placed his hand on her shoulder, the touches lingering longer than they should. Uncomfortable, Kemi confided in Ada. "Ada, I think Mr. Dan is behaving inappropriately," she said. Ada laughed. "You're imagining things. He probably just admires your intelligence. Don't overthink it." One day, Mr. Dan asked Kemi to meet him in his office after school. She hesitated but went, fearing that refusing might seem disrespectful. "You are special, Kemi," he said, his voice smooth. "I've never met a student like you. You have a bright future, but the world is harsh, especially for girls like you." Kemi felt uneasy. "Thank you, sir, but I should go now. My parents are waiting." Before she could leave, he stood and blocked the door. "Don't act like you don't know what I mean," he said, his voice lowering. "You are a beautiful girl. Don't waste your time on boys your age. A man like me can take care of you." Kemi's heart pounded. She tried to push past him, but he grabbed her hand. "Don't be foolish," he sneered. "Do you know how many girls would kill to be in your position?" Summoning all her courage, Kemi kicked him in the shin and bolted from the office. She didn't stop running until she reached the school gates. The next day, Mr. Dan humiliated her in front of the class. "Kemi, your recent attitude has been unacceptable. If this continues, I'll have no choice but to report you for misconduct." Her classmates stared in confusion as she sat frozen in her seat, her face burning with humiliation. After class, he cornered her in the hallway. "If you don't want to lose your scholarship, you do as I say," he threatened. Devastated, Kemi realized the depth of her predicament. Losing her scholarship would mean returning to poverty. She couldn't bear to see the disappointment in her parents' eyes. At home, she grew distant and withdrawn. When her mother asked what was wrong, she forced a smile and whispered, "Nothing, Mama." But inside, she was crumbling. One evening, as she sat alone in the school library, Mr. Dan approached again. "You can't avoid me forever," he said. "Think about your future. Do you want to end up like your parents, struggling for every meal? Or do you want to succeed?" Tears welled up in her eyes. "Why are you doing this to me?" she whispered. "Because I see potential in you," he replied, his tone softening. "I can help you, but you have to trust me." Kemi felt trapped. Telling anyone seemed pointless. Who would believe a poor scholarship student over a respected teacher? After weeks of torment, she made a decision that would haunt her forever. She agreed to meet him after school. "I'll do what you want," she said softly, her voice hollow. Kemi became Mr. Dan's secret. He showered her with gifts, a new phone, expensive clothes, and money she quietly sent home to her parents. On the surface, her life seemed to improve, but inside she felt like a prisoner. She avoided Ada, ashamed of what she had become. Her grades began to slip. The once bright spark in her dimmed. Mr. Dan grew possessive and controlling, demanding her attention constantly. She hated him, but she hated herself even more for giving in. Little did she know, the worst was yet to come. Then came the sickness, the nausea, the dizziness. When she missed her period, fear gripped her like a vice. She didn't know who to tell. She didn't know what to do. As her belly began to grow, her world crumbled. The whispers started in school. Is she pregnant? Who's the father? Rumors spread like wildfire. Ada confronted her one afternoon behind the school block. "Kemi, talk to me. What's happening? Are you pregnant?" Tears filled Kemi's eyes. She finally broke down, her voice shaking. "It's Mr. Dan." Ada gasped, her face pale. "Oh my God. Kemi, we have to report him. They won't believe me. I'll lose my scholarship. My father will disown me. But you can't keep hiding." "I'm scared, Ada. I don't know what to do." Eventually, the school authorities found out. Kemi was summoned. The principal sat sternly behind the desk, with Mr. Dan beside him, calm and composed. "Kemi, Mr. Dan has denied all your accusations," the principal said coldly. He claims you pursued him and you have no evidence otherwise. Unfortunately, your behavior violates the school's code of conduct. Tears streamed down Kemi's cheeks as she listened helpless. You are hereby expelled for misconduct. Mr. Dan sat there, silent, victorious. The news hit home like a bomb. The day her father found out was the last day she slept in her bed. Rain lashed the windows as he stood in the sitting room and shouted. His voice cracked from the weight of disappointment. Her mother wept beside the door, hands trembling. You've brought shame to this family, he roared. Under my roof? No, not with that bastard growing inside you, she begged. She fell to her knees in the living room, tears mixing with the rain already leaking from her clothes, but he opened the door wide. Get out. He didn't even let her pack, just a polythene bag and the clothes on her back. She stepped out into the storm, barefoot, broken, and very, very alone.